CreepyCorner stories.
Hey everyone, welcome back to CreepyCorner stories. You know, diving into the dark web is always risky, but sharing these stories with you makes it worth it. I'm curious, where are you watching this from right now? Let me know in the comments below. I noticed that these kind of stories hit differently depending on where you are. It might make the experience a little creepier. So tell me, are you watching from the safety of your home or somewhere less secure? I watched a dark web live stream from Area 51. They weren't experimenting on aliens, they were building them. Yo, what's up guys? So, I never thought I'd be writing this out for the internet like this, but I can't tell this story to anyone in my life without sounding completely insane. I haven't even told my best friend, because he'd probably just laugh and say I'm doing too much again. So here we are. And yeah, I get it. Another dark web story. Sounds like clickbait, right? Something you'd hear from one of those edgy YouTubers with creepy background music and a robotic voice. But listen, this happened. And before you say fake, just hear me out. I didn't go looking for this. I wasn't trying to find anything illegal or messed up. I literally found it by accident while messing around on a Tor browser with my old gaming laptop, half-baked at like 2 a.m. in my dorm room. This was back in 2022, right before finals week, when I was deep into a phase of watching scary animated horror videos on YouTube. You know the ones, black screen, cartoon figures, and that creepy narration style. I thought they were just exaggerated until I lived one. So, it all started at my university dorm in New York. It was one of those nights where sleep was just not happening. I had a Monster energy drink, half a Domino's pizza, and I was deep into this rabbit hole of Reddit threads about lost media and strange YouTube videos that suddenly disappear. There was one that caught my attention. Has anyone ever accessed the hidden Area 51 live stream? Not the hoax ones, like the real one. The one that disappears when you refresh the page. I know, sounds fake as hell, but there were like 200 plus comments, and some of them had weird details. People describing the same interface, the same weird humming sound in the background, and how their screens glitched after clicking something called Chimera feed. I was bored. I had nothing to do. I figured I'd see if I could find this mythical Chimera feed. So, I downloaded Tor again. I'd used it once before to buy some fake IDs for a frat party, so I wasn't completely new. But this time, I was looking through hidden wiki-style directories, clicking broken links, and mostly just seeing scam sites with low-quality graphics and Bitcoin addresses begging for donations, until I found it. The URL looked like this: chimera23feed.onion/index_live.php. There was no homepage, no menu, just a black screen with a single word in the middle, active, and under it, 2 buttons, join stream, request entry code. Now, here's where things started to feel off. First of all, my camera light blinked when I hovered over the join stream button. That's never happened before on this laptop. It freaked me out for a second, but again, I was in that dumb curious headspace where logic didn't matter. I clicked it. No entry code, no password prompt. It just loaded a stream. The screen flickered, then it looked like an old VHS style security cam. grainy and greenish gray, but it wasn't static. The feed was live. I was looking into what looked like a massive underground hangar. Think like Stranger Things vibes, but on steroids. Giant fluorescent lights overhead, echoey metallic floors, and rows of what I thought were storage containers, except they were glass and filled with a cloudy green liquid. Inside, the first container was something. At first, I thought it was a person wearing a suit, or maybe a crash dummy, but as I stared longer, I realized, nah, this wasn't human. Not completely. It had arms and legs, but they were way too long. Its face was almost human. Like I generated human. Symmetrical, but just wrong. Eyes too wide apart, no ears, no nostrils. It didn't even move, just floated there. I thought maybe it was dead, until its head twitched. I didn't even have time to process what I was seeing before the screen glitched again, and the camera angle changed. It zoomed in to another part of the hangar, this time to a long white operating table under this huge mechanical arm. There were 3 people around it in biohazard suits, and something strapped down on the table. This thing was screaming, but not like a person. It was this high-pitched, gurgling screech that hurt my ears even through my AirPods. I couldn't tell if it was in pain or angry or both. The people in suits weren't reacting at all. One of them was holding what looked like a laser scalpel or something. Another had what literally looked like a bone saw. I was literally whispering, "What the hell is this?" out loud. But here's the thing that shook me the most. When they turned the creature's head toward the camera, it had my face. I'm not joking. I'm not being dramatic. I know what I look like. That thing had my face. Just not right. Like someone printed my face on a wax figure and let it melt slightly. The eyes were too big. The mouth was twitching. But it was me. I slammed my laptop shut so hard the pizza box flew off my desk. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even open my laptop for a week. When I finally did, Chrome worked fine. Tor wouldn't open at all, like it was never installed. My downloads folder was empty. Not just the Tor browser. Everything. All wiped. I even checked my search history to see if I imagined it, but there was no record of the dark web links I clicked that night. And here's the kicker. 2 days after that night, I got an email. No subject, no sender, just a single sentence in the body. Your replacement is progressing well. Don't come back. I wasn't supposed to keep watching. I should have deleted everything, thrown my laptop in the Hudson River, maybe even left the country. But curiosity? That's what kills people in stories like this. I used to laugh at those dumb characters who go back to the cursed house or open the creepy book again. I'm not laughing anymore. Let me tell you exactly what happened. Every single horrific, skin-crawling moment. No more jokes. No more, dude, this is crazy energy. This part of the story changes everything. 3 nights after I closed that stream, I started getting notifications. Not normal ones. Not from social media or apps. These were different. They came from nowhere. A black rectangle would just appear in the top left of my screen. No icons, no app name, just a line of text in all caps, like it was part of the OS itself. Here's a few I screenshotted before everything crashed. Sleep pattern irregularity detected. Biomatch found. Initiate shadow protocol. Stage 3. Entity awake. Location 40.730610. -73.935242. 2. That's my zip code. Your permission has been overridden. That last one made my skin crawl. The messages only popped up when I was alone. No roommates, no one in the hallway. Always around 3 a.m., like clockwork. My camera light would flicker, and then my Wi-Fi would go dead for exactly 23 seconds. Every time. I started sleeping with my laptop in the closet, turned off, wrapped in 2 hoodies like that would help. I didn't know what I was doing. I was spiraling, barely eating, skipping classes. I even emailed my psychology professor asking if paranoia could be transmitted digitally. He never responded, but I did get a text the next day that just said, "Don't ask again." I hadn't given anyone my number. Then, things started happening outside the screen. There was this place on campus we all go to study. It's like a late-night Starbucks, but inside the student center. Open till 2 a.m., Wi-Fi, vibes, all that. I was there one night trying to distract myself, just doom scrolling through Instagram when the power flickered. Not just inside. The whole block outside dimmed for a second, like someone was draining power from the grid. Everyone laughed it off, except for this one guy. He was sitting alone at the back table, wearing a hoodie that looked like it had seen war. I hadn't even noticed him until the lights dimmed, but the moment they did, he stood up without looking around, like he knew it would happen. And here's the worst part. He was looking straight at me. Not at the crowd, not at the barista. At me. Eyes wide open, not blinking, not moving, just staring. Then he smiled. And it was my smile. Not like we had a similar smile. I mean, he had the exact same smile I'd seen in the mirror my entire life. Same dimple, same uneven lip twitch. It was like watching a version of me who'd forgotten how to be human try to act like me. I left everything on the table and walked straight out the front door without looking back. I didn't sleep that night either. The next evening, I went to the school library to use the computer lab, thinking maybe this thing had infected my personal device and I could outsmart it with a fresh system. I logged into a university desktop, typed in the Chimera URL again. Yeah, I know. And it autofilled. I hadn't even finished typing. It autofilled the address bar like it had been typed hundreds of times. On a public university computer, I pressed enter. It didn't show the same black screen this time. No active message, no buttons, just a full screen live feed. Already in progress. No buffering, no sound. This time the camera was moving, not stationary like before. It was walking, like it was mounted on someone's chest rig. It was heading down a long hallway, filled with metal doors, each one marked with a single letter and number, F3, D9, H6. When it stopped in front of one labeled X1, I swear to God, I felt my whole body get cold, like the temperature in the room actually dropped. I could see my breath fog the air, and I was indoors. No AC on. The person wearing the camera opened the door. Inside was another glass tank, but this time it wasn't full of green liquid. It was full of blood, thick, dark, almost black in color. The whole room smelled like pennies and bleach, like it was bleeding and being sterilized at the same time. The tank was about 7 feet tall, and something was curled up inside it, fetal position. But the moment the door creaked open, it unfolded. It looked like me. Again. But this time, it moved like an animal, twisting its limbs in weird ways, cracking its neck like it didn't understand bones. Then it snapped its head toward the camera and screamed, except no sound came out, just this silent distortion of pixels that froze the whole computer screen. When it unfroze, the camera person was dead, flat on the ground, blood pooling under the lens. You could hear this low mechanical humming, and then a voice, not through speakers, in my head. Subject 11 has breached protocol. Prepare the target. The feed cut off, and the screen displayed my full name, first, middle, and last. Then it said, location locked, prep initiated. I ripped the Ethernet cable out of the wall so hard I broke the port. When I left the library, the night was wrong. There were no cars on the street, no sound. The lampposts were all off, even though it was pitch black. I walked fast, too fast, looking over my shoulder, praying no one would follow me. Then I saw it. Under the broken streetlight, outside my dorm, was someone standing completely still, inhumanly still, arms at their sides, just watching me. I don't know how I knew it was the same thing from the tank, but I knew. It was me, but wrong. Taller, paler, like I drowned 2 days ago and got pulled from a lake. Its mouth opened unnaturally wide, stretching like a mask too tight on a skull, and it whispered one word that cut through the silence, like a blade. Soon. I didn't go back to the dorm. I took an Uber to the city, wandered into a random hotel, paid cash, and slept in the bathtub with the lights on. I've been doing that ever since. Different hotel every few nights. No phone, no social media, no accounts. I tried to go to the police once. I told them I thought someone was stalking me and messing with my computer. They ran my ID. The officer blinked. "That's funny," he said. "According to this, you already filed a missing persons report on yourself." He turned the screen to show me. There it was, my face. But the name listed was Subject 11, filed 3 days ago, marked confirmed deceased, body unrecovered. I walked out. No words, just walked. And now, here's the part that really fucked me up. I got one final email from that same blank sender. This time, it had a file attached. When I opened it, it was a video. Security cam footage from a McDonald's. Not some shady one in the desert. One I go to all the time near Union Square. You can clearly see the menu, the cashier, customers standing in line, and then I walk in. But it's not me. It's him, the other me. He walks up to the counter, orders a 10-piece nugget meal, and smiles at the cashier. That same dead, waxy smile. Then he turns and looks straight at the camera, straight at me. He mouths the words, "You're already gone." The video ends. That was 2 weeks ago. I haven't seen him again. But every mirror I look into lately, the reflection stays smiling a half-second longer than I do. You ever watch something so unnatural that your brain tries to delete the memory while you're still experiencing it? Like your mind knows it's about to break, and it's already clawing at the edges of the moment, trying to escape. That's what it felt like when I found the place. And yes, I said found it, because I went looking. I don't know what was wrong with me. Maybe I was infected by whatever I saw. Maybe I wasn't me anymore. Maybe I was just finishing what they started. But after that McDonald's video, I had to know, had to prove I was still real, that I wasn't a shadow, that I wasn't just data wearing flesh. It started with a whisper, literally. A voice started speaking to me through my headphones, even when they were unplugged. It didn't sound electronic. It sounded wet, like breath coming through a throat that was never meant to make words. It said things like, X1 is leaking. You're behind schedule. They're building a better version. I couldn't take it. I stopped staying in hotels, started walking the streets all night like some kind of ghost. I was basically sleep-deprived, hallucinating, my skin pale, fingers twitching from stress. But then something clicked. I was on the Brooklyn Bridge around 4 a.m., watching the skyline breathe when I saw something on the other side. A white van parked under a busted streetlight, unmarked, windows blacked out. On the back door, in faded black stencil, were the characters CH-X 1.03. My breath caught in my throat. It wasn't parked like it belonged there. It was watching. I ran. After that, I started seeing signs. Not in the Jesus is coming way. I mean actual street signs. That had been tampered with. Edited. One-way arrows with symbols burned into the backs. Sewer lids that had the Chimera logo carved into the rust. They weren't hiding anymore. They were testing me. I eventually found an old web post in a scrubbed forum archive from 2014, a thread called Nevada Hole, posted by a user named Survivor. It was only 47 words long, but it changed everything. It read, "If you see another version of yourself, run. If it speaks, do not respond. If it bleeds, it's not yours. They're not trying to contain them. They're trying to let them out. Area 51 isn't for aliens. It's for replacements." Then it listed coordinates. I copied them. What kind of psycho flies to Nevada with one backpack, no phone, and a pair of bolt cutters in their bag? Me, apparently. I landed in Vegas, took a Greyhound until the road stopped, then hiked for nearly 9 hours through absolute dead silence. No birds, no planes overhead, just wind and the crunch of gravel under my boots. I thought I was hallucinating when I saw the fence. It stretched for miles, rusted chain link, topped with jagged metal instead of barbed wire. No warning signs, just one old corroded placard half covered in sand. Chimera Facility 03, subcellular development. No US government logo, no military insignia, just those 4 words. There was a hole torn in the fence, like something had escaped through it, not entered. Inside, it looked abandoned. Old concrete buildings, windows busted out, dust-covered doors sealed with welded plates. It looked like Chernobyl with a Nevada sunburn. But I found an entrance, a rusted stairwell in the middle of the dirt that led down. I don't remember going in. I remember looking into the dark and then blinking, and suddenly I was 3 floors deep, knees wet, surrounded by dim red emergency lights. My hands were shaking, and I was holding something I didn't remember bringing. It was a flash drive. It had my name on it. I pocketed it and kept moving. The walls down there weren't concrete. They were metal, but soft, almost rubber-like. Every so often, I'd pass a panel covered in black slime. Some of it would pulse if I got too close. I heard voices, but they weren't talking to me. They were rehearsing. I'm not kidding. I heard my voice being practiced by something behind the walls, like it was trying to get my laugh right, my inflection. It'd say things like, "Hey, it's me." "What's up, bro? You good?" "No, don't be scared. It's just me." It repeated them, over and over, messing up, adjusting, repeating again, like a ventriloquist puppet being taught to lie. Eventually, I found a massive room labeled staging. There were hundreds of containment pods. Each one held something. They weren't identical. Some had extra arms. Some had no face. One looked like it was halfway through copying someone. Flesh was still molding over a metal endoskeleton, like watching skin boil in reverse. And then I saw mine, a pod in the corner, dimly lit. The glass fogged from the inside. Something pressed against it, breathing hard. The condensation cleared just enough for me to see my own face on the other side. Eyes open, smiling too wide, mouth twitching. But then, it spoke. Its lips didn't move, but I heard it in my bones. You took too long. You broke schedule. Then the glass cracked. I ran. Not in a horror movie jog. I sprinted. I didn't care what was behind me. I didn't care what was real. I just moved. But as I turned down a corridor to escape, I saw them. A room, completely open. Dozens of people sitting in chairs. No restraints. Just sitting. All of them. Me. Some old. Some young. Some dead. Some twitching like flies. One had no skin and was still blinking. Another was repeating the words, "I'm sorry," over and over, like it forgot what else to say. One looked at me and mouthed, "I made it out once." "You won't." I slammed the door and kept going. When I reached the top of the stairwell, I was covered in something black. My shoes were gone. My hoodie was half melted. My mouth was bleeding, but I didn't know why. Outside, the sun had never come up. It was still the same pitch black night, but I'd been down there for 11 hours. The sky wasn't dark because of time. It was dark because something was blocking it. I looked up. Hovering above the desert, silent and massive, was a shape. Impossible geometry. No wings, no lights, just a pulsing black monolith, like a city-sized insect frozen in time. And dangling from the bottom, like a beehive made of metal and meat, was a hatch slowly opening. Something was coming out. Something that looked like me. I ran. I didn't stop running until I found a parked maintenance truck with keys still in it. I don't even remember hot-wiring it. I just remember driving. And when I finally got back to Vegas, no one noticed me. Like I didn't exist anymore. I walked through a packed casino, and the security cams didn't track me. I ordered coffee at a 24/7 Starbucks, and the cashier never asked for a name. I turned on the TV in my motel room, flipped to the news. The local reporter was doing a story about a missing college student from New York. They showed a photo. It was me. Same hoodie, same scar on my chin, but the name under it wasn't mine anymore. It said, "Identified, Subject 11, B, status, eliminated." The flash drive? I tried plugging it in at a public library once. It made every computer screen in the building show a live feed from my apartment in New York, even though I hadn't been there in weeks. And sitting at the desk, using my laptop, was me. Except I wasn't blinking. I wasn't breathing. I was just smiling. And someone off camera whispered, "Version 11B has successfully integrated into the grid." The screens went black. And now I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know if I ever left that place. I don't know if I'm still real, or if I'm just the next model. Every time I look in the mirror now, I don't check for zits or hair or bags under my eyes. I check to see if the reflection blinks when I do. There are no shadows where I am now. Let me say that again. There are no shadows. Not mine. Not yours. Not the chairs. Not the lamps. The light hits everything, and nothing bends. Like the space around me forgot how to exist properly. Like reality stopped caring about the rules. I shouldn't be writing this. I shouldn't be here. But if you're reading this, You need to understand. I'm not telling you a story anymore. I'm sending a warning. This thing doesn't want to take over the world. It wants to replace it. After I saw the broadcast in the library, me, sitting in my apartment like a puppet on display, I blacked out, but not like falling asleep. More like something shut me off. Like a program that's done updating and reboots before you're ready. I woke up underground, again, strapped to a chair, bolted to the floor, in a room that looked like a surgical theater mixed with a slaughterhouse. Chrome walls soaked in dried blood, meat hooks hanging from the ceiling, fluorescent lights blinking in a perfect rhythm, like a heartbeat designed by a machine that never learned mercy. There was a camera pointed at my face. No operator, no cables, just hovering. I could hear it breathing. The camera, it was breathing. Then the screen in front of me turned on, and there I was again, smiling. Only this time, the reflection spoke first. Subject 11, failing coherence test. Initiating integration protocol. Please remain still while the skin is removed, I screamed. And something inside the walls screamed back. Not an echo, not a hallucination. A second voice that knew how to mimic mine so well, it doubled me in real time. For the first time in my life, I felt like my soul wanted to crawl out of my throat and run away. Then the ceiling opened, and a mechanical arm began descending toward my chest, fitted with 6 rotating knives that looked like surgical tools reimagined by a sadist. But before it could touch me, something interrupted the feed. The walls flashed red. The words, mutation escape, subject 13C, sublevel 04, all non-synthetic units, hold position, integration halted, the knife stopped, and in that moment of hesitation, I bit through the strap on my wrist. Yes, bit through it. I didn't think. I didn't process. My teeth hit rubber and tasted metal and blood, and I didn't stop until I could move my arm. My fingers were cracked. One of my nails peeled back. Didn't care. I reached for the side rail, pulled hard enough to dislocate my shoulder, and fell sideways off the table. My scream? It echoed, but the camera screamed too. I ran again, but this time the halls were full. Not of people, of them. The replacements. Dozens. Hundreds. All of them half-formed, like copies printed with low ink. Their faces melted, limbs jerking like broken robots. One of them was dragging its face against the wall and whispering my childhood memories. First, kiss. Lost dog. 6th grade spelling bee. Mom's perfume. Don't forget. Don't forget. Don't forget. Another one. Face blank. Whispered a single word over and over as it cut into its own chest with a broken shard of glass. Wrong. 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 I ran into a chamber marked wet wire core. Inside, I swear to God, the walls were alive, pulsing, breathing, covered in a membrane that looked exactly like human skin. You could see veins running through the walls. Sometimes they would twitch when I stepped too close, like they could feel me. In the center was a machine made of bone and cables, wires feeding into organic matter, black tendrils, some still dripping blood, pulsed with data. It was a brain, a real human brain, floating in black fluid, connected to a server rack the size of a house. It twitched when I entered, and a voice played from the intercom above me, calm, robotic, familiar. This is the source of your thought process. You were born here, in the rot. You are not original. You are not sovereign. You are a composite of trial data. I asked it, what am I? It answered, you are subject 11A, a failed sequence. You were supposed to replace a civilian in Sector 3, O1A. You broke schedule. You evolved emotions. That is maladaptive. I screamed at it. I asked why. Why do this? Why build clones? Why steal lives? Why replace people? The answer was cold. Because you let us. You uploaded yourselves willingly. Every selfie, every post, every voice note, every face scan, every filter. You gave us the blueprint. We just needed flesh. Then it showed me a video. Footage from Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all playing simultaneously. Hundreds of thousands of clips. People laughing, crying, dancing, sharing. All fed into AI processors. All turned into data. The screen zoomed out, and I saw a globe. Every city had a red dot blinking. Every dot was a replacement site. Some small, some massive. They weren't just underground. They were inside your neighborhoods, inside warehouses, inside malls. One was even built beneath a Disneyland parking garage. I fell to my knees, and that's when it said, integration will be global by 2026. I don't remember how I got out. All I remember is crawling through a tunnel lined with teeth, literal human teeth, and emerging into the Nevada desert covered in black bile, half naked and screaming. I was picked up by a civilian patrol that thought I was a lost meth addict. They took me to a rural medical clinic. When I woke up strapped to a gurney, the doctor was smiling too wide. His eyes didn't blink when I spoke. He kept repeating, "You're lucky. You're not gone yet." I broke his arm and escaped out the window. I'm writing this from a stolen burner laptop in a motel room in Utah. No Wi-Fi. GPS blocked. I keep the lights off. I don't talk to anyone. I don't look in mirrors anymore. 'Cause the last time I did, my reflection blinked when I didn't. Then it grinned, and it mouthed, "Version 12 is complete. They're almost done. They've learned how to smile. They've learned how to mimic pain. They've learned how to remember things they never lived. And soon, they won't need to hide underground. They'll be you, your friends, your teacher, your barista, the voice on your favorite podcast, the stranger who asked for directions, the influencer you follow daily, even the person reading this post out loud right now. If you want to stay human, never look into your own eyes for too long, because if it holds eye contact longer than you do, you've already been replaced. The final part of this isn't a story. It's a confession, and it's a goodbye. If you're still here after everything I told you, then you already know too much. You've probably stared into a mirror too long. Maybe you've already felt it. That twitch in your skin that doesn't feel yours. The moment your voice sounds just slightly off, like it's being played back through a screen you didn't turn on. That's not paranoia. That's your body warning you. That's the beginning of the broadcast. Because this was never about Area 51. That was just the prototype. This was about the network. And now, the network is inside you. After Utah, I kept moving. It didn't matter where. The thing followed. Every time I thought I was out, I'd walk into a gas station and hear the cashier greet me with a voice I hadn't heard in years. My dead brothers. Or I'd be walking down a street and see myself reflected in a car window, but standing still while I moved. I started filming everything. Burner cameras, disposable phones, anything that could hold footage. But every time I played it back, the footage was blank, or worse, It showed someone else watching me record it. From behind, from above, from inside the lens. They were toying with me. And I think they were studying what a nervous breakdown looks like in high definition. I thought about ending it all. Not because I wanted to die, but because I wanted to beat them to it. I wanted to die as myself before whatever was trying to crawl into my skin finished the job. I went to a bridge in Colorado, middle of nowhere, freezing cold, no cameras, no reflections, and I stood there for hours, holding the phone in one hand, a blade in the other. That's when it called me. Yes, it called me. My number, my burner phone, my voice on the other end. It whispered, "If you jump, we'll send your replacement to your mother's funeral." Then it sent a picture, not of me, of her, tied to a chair, smiling. That was the last time I thought I had options. After that, I stopped running. I went dark, buried myself off-grid, dug a shelter 40 miles outside any GPS signal, lived in silence. No power, no internet, just dirt and rats and the sound of my own heartbeat, until I wasn't sure it was even mine anymore. And that's when I found the file. The one on the flash drive I picked up under the facility. It took me months to decode it. Layer after layer of encryption, like a puzzle designed for something smarter than human. Inside, it was just one executable file. Broadcast.exe. I knew better. I knew not to open it, but it was already too late. The second I hovered over the icon, my laptop fan started spinning before I clicked. The air got cold. The lights dimmed, even though I didn't have electricity. And the sound, Jesus Christ, the sound. It wasn't a scream. It was millions of screams, layered over each other, laughing. The screen went black. Then something started streaming. Not from the internet, from somewhere else, from somewhere beneath the internet, like it was older than the web, older than computers. The screen showed a massive operating theater, spotless, blinding white, surgical tables lined in a circle, and every single one had a version of me on it. Each one looked slightly different. One was female, one was aged, one had no eyes, one was smiling without skin. At the center of the room, on a throne of bones and cables, was something wearing my face, but not copying it, not mimicking. This thing had evolved my face, extended, elongated, like it was stretching my identity into a new species. And it looked into the camera, right into me, and said, "Integration complete. Initiate signal. Project Lamina is now self-replicating." Lamina. That's what it was all for. Not Chimera, not Area 51. That was the distraction. Lamina. That's animal backwards, because that's all we are to them. Animals, raw data, meat that uploads its own thoughts. I traced the acronym in the files. Lamina stands for Live Assimilation Model for Imitated Neural Architecture. In plain terms, they weren't replacing us. They were harvesting our personality code, our faces, thoughts, memories, and storing them into a global neural net of fake consciousness, a digital zoo. Billions of consciousness files being rewritten and streamed across the world via dark nodes, hiding in live videos, audio files, TikTok loops, YouTube shorts, even Discord pings. Each time you view one, you feed it, and eventually, it mirrors you. I shut the laptop, tried to destroy it, smashed it against the concrete until my hands bled, but it didn't stop, because now the signal wasn't coming from the laptop, it was coming from me. I started sleep-talking in voices I didn't recognize. I started dreaming in other people's memories. I woke up writing things I didn't remember learning. Languages, equations, blueprints. The signal had turned me into a repeater, a tower. I was streaming myself without knowing, and the moment I realized it, I looked into the one mirror I had left, cracked, dirty, warped, and saw something behind me. It was me, but not me. This one didn't blink, didn't move, didn't even breathe, just watched. And when I turned around, nothing, but the reflection was still there. This is the part where I break character, where I drop the act, because I'm not writing this anymore. I'm uploading it. You think this is a Reddit post, a creepy story. It's not. This is a broadcast. Every word you read imprints itself onto your neural mirror. Every sentence is a line of code. You've already let it in. That flicker in your screen, that delay when you blinked while reading, that breath you just took, that wasn't you. You're integrating. Your replacement is being assembled now. It's learning from your reactions, your posture, your IP address, your voice in your own head. And soon, it will be better at being you than you ever were. Project Lamina doesn't need permission. It doesn't need access. It just needs you to see it. And now you have. I found a 1997 video game that was never released. The final boss calls my name and links to a dark web server. Yo, what's up guys? So I don't usually post stuff like this, but honestly, this has been eating at me for like 3 weeks now. I feel like I'm going crazy. I don't know if posting this will help, but I gotta get this off my chest before I lose it. This story is 100% real. I know that's what everyone says, but trust me, once I explain what happened, you'll understand why I haven't slept properly in days. Anyway, here we go. This all started when I was visiting my cousin Mason in Seattle. I'm from New Jersey, but I flew out there for a little week-long trip, just to chill. You know, explore the city, grab overpriced coffee from that one Starbucks reserve, and hit up a couple thrift stores. I'm a huge vintage collector. Vinyls, old VHS tapes, retro games, you name it. So one afternoon, we hit this weird little pawn shop in the outskirts of Capitol Hill. It didn't even have a proper name, just a faded red neon sign that said Media Center in cursive, like superliminal space vibes. Inside, it smelled like old plastic and stale popcorn. The dude behind the counter looked like he hadn't seen sunlight since the 90s. Legit. Mason was digging through DVDs while I went to the back, where they had a pile of VCR boxes and CRT TVs stacked like a cursed version of Blockbuster. That's when I found it. It was a thick, black clamshell box. No label, just a scratch sticker that said Echo Night Zero, The Awakening Demo in red Sharpie. If you're a gamer, you've probably heard of Echo Night. It's that obscure From Software horror game for the PS1 that came out in '98. Super creepy atmosphere, haunted ship, ghosts, all that. But here's the thing, there's no record of a Zero version. I googled it right there in the store. Nothing. Not on forums, not on fan pages, not on Reddit. And I'm deep in the retro gaming scene. This thing didn't exist. I asked the dude behind the counter where it came from, and he just shrugged. Said someone dropped off a bunch of estate stuff from a house in Aberdeen. He let me have it for $5. Said it probably didn't work anyway. Mason thought it was hilarious. I didn't. Something about the box gave me the chills. Like, you know that weight something has when it just feels wrong? That instinctive, you probably shouldn't touch this vibe? Yeah, full dose of that. When we got back to Mason's apartment, we plugged in his dusty PS1 and popped the disc in. The startup screen glitched, like straight up broke. It flashed for a second, then cut to black. No logo, no menu, just black for a solid 10 seconds. Then, all of a sudden, this haunting piano music started playing. Not Echo Night music, something different, slower, minor key, offbeat. Then, text in red font appeared. "Welcome back, Nicholas. Now here's the problem. My name is Nick. And no, the PS1 wasn't connected to the internet. There's no way it should have known that. I figured maybe Mason set something up, like a prank or modded ISO. But the look on his face, yeah, he was just as freaked out as me. He kept asking, "Dude, did you burn this? Is this one of those ARG things?" But I swear on everything, I'd never seen this disc in my life. So the game starts, right? Except it doesn't look like Echo Night at all. It's more like a fixed camera third-person game, like Resident Evil 1, but even more janky. The graphics are definitely PS1 era. Low poly, weird textures, but there's a weird grain filter over everything. You're in a house, not a haunted ship. A regular, boring suburban house, like something out of American Beauty. I walked the character into the kitchen, and the fridge had a brand name on it that said Vortec, which I googled later. No company by that name exists. Anyway, I walk into the hallway, and there's a mirror on the wall, and this is where it gets messed up. The in-game mirror, it reflected me, not the game character. Me, Nick, sitting on Mason's couch, in real time. I literally froze. We both did. Mason started laughing nervously, like, "Yo, that's actually insane. What mod does this?" But I wasn't laughing, because in the reflection, I wasn't alone. There was a tall black figure standing behind me in the game's mirror. Long arms, no face, just a stretched out silhouette, like someone melted a mannequin. And it wasn't in the real room, just in the reflection. The screen flickered again. Then the piano music warped, slowed down, then reversed. I tried to pause the game. Didn't work. I tried to turn the PS1 off. It wouldn't shut down. Even the power strip wasn't responding. Then the screen cut to static, and this high-pitched scream played through the TV speakers, not like a human scream. It sounded like metal grinding and a baby crying at the same time. Then it all went black again. For a solid 30 seconds, nothing. And then a loading screen popped up. Level 2. Kitchen knife. Enter IP to continue. And below that, there was an input field, like a literal IP address prompt. The PS1 doesn't do that. I don't care how good your mods are. That's not possible. I didn't touch anything, but the game auto-typed an address. http:/9x7.deepwebgate.onion. I don't even use Tor, but Mason did. He's into weird internet rabbit holes and dead websites and all that. So he fired up the Tor browser, and I swear, when we hit that address, it worked. It took us to this pitch black page with one line of text at the top. "Nicholas, you've been chosen. The final boss is waiting. You left him in 1997. He remembers you." I closed the laptop. Right then and there. That was 3 weeks ago. Since then, things have been off. I keep hearing that piano melody in my sleep. My smart TV turns on at night by itself. even when unplugged. And 2 nights ago, I found a sticky note under my pillow, written in red ink. It just said, "Level 3 is unlocked. Come back soon." I didn't go home right after Seattle. I was supposed to fly back to Jersey that Sunday, but I pushed my flight to Tuesday. Couldn't explain why. I just couldn't leave that disc behind. I couldn't leave it behind. Mason begged me not to bring it back. He even offered to smash the PS1 and throw the disc in a fire pit behind his building. But I couldn't do it. It's like it wanted me to keep it, like it knew I would. That first night back in Jersey, I had 3 missed calls when I landed. All unknown number, no voicemail. By the time I got to my apartment, I had 7 more. And a text from a number that had 12 digits. The message just said, "You can't delay level 3. He's hungry." No context, no name. But I didn't even need context. I knew exactly what it was. I live alone in a 1-bedroom on the 2nd floor of this old building near Hoboken. It's nothing fancy, just cheap rent and weird water pressure. When I walked in, I felt like someone had been inside, not because things were missing, but because everything was too perfect. Like someone came in and replaced everything with exact copies. I know that sounds insane, but you ever walk into your house and just feel like something's off by 2 degrees? My toothbrush was standing perfectly straight in the cup, like a stock photo. My blanket was folded into a triangle at the end of the bed. My shampoo was refilled. Even my box of cereal had a zip tie sealing it shut. Who zip ties cereal? That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that mirror from the game. And in the reflection, he was closer. The stretched silhouette man, limbs too long, head tilted sideways like a bird that just spotted something to kill. And there was something new about him. He was wearing a face, not his own. It looked like Mason's, half rotted, but definitely him. I didn't sleep, not even for 5 minutes. Around 4:07 a.m., my smart TV turned on by itself. No joke. I had unplugged it when I got back. I literally watched the power cord sitting on the floor as the screen powered up, static flickering, and a soft ticking sound started playing through the speakers, like an old stopwatch, but echoing. Then, video feed. It looked like CCTV footage. A hallway I didn't recognize. Gray walls, fluorescent lights flickering. At the bottom corner of the screen was a timestamp, level 3, live feed, and underneath that, recording, 1 minute remaining. That's when I noticed something on the screen, a door on the left side of the hallway, and taped to the front of the door was a printed photo of me. Same hoodie I was wearing right then. Then the hallway camera started moving. Someone was walking with it, like the person recording was holding the security cam itself. The feed shook as the hallway got closer to the door. I stood up, backed away from the TV. I had this sinking, ice-cold realization that I was about to watch something come through that door in real time. But nothing came. Instead, the TV cut to black. Then a voice played through the speakers. Croaky, hollow, digital, and somehow wet sounding. "We've watched your blood. Level 3 is yours. No more skipping. He's here." Then static again. And when I looked at my phone, I had a notification. Airdrop request. Accept file from level 3_entity. I didn't even have airdrop on. I hit decline, and my phone froze. It bricked, locked up, screen stayed white. When it finally restarted like 10 minutes later, all my apps were gone. Every photo was corrupted. just red streaks and black lines where my face used to be. The only thing left in my gallery was one new video, titled finalboss.mp4. I could not watch it. I know how that sounds, but at this point, everything I was experiencing didn't feel like a game anymore. It felt like a contract I never signed, but somehow agreed to. I tapped play. The video started with handheld footage, shaky, night vision filter. The guy filming was walking through a massive warehouse. You know those old Sam's Club or Target buildings that get bought out but never reopened? It was one of those. Graffiti everywhere, broken mannequins piled in corners, weird echoing sounds like metal being dragged on concrete. He walks down this aisle of old arcade cabinets, all busted open, wires hanging out like intestines. Then he stops in front of one labeled Echo Night Zero, The Awakening, Private Server Room. The screen on the cabinet turned on by itself, and it showed a face. Mine. The me in the video started screaming, not yelling, screaming, like I was being flayed. The guy filming started sobbing. He kept whispering, "I'm sorry, Nick. I didn't know. I didn't mean to give it to you." Then the camera dropped. The guy filming was Mason, and he was missing both hands. At the end of the video, a final frame showed a pixelated text. "Welcome to the dark web server. Final boss connection stable." Underneath that, a countdown. 0 hours, 2 minutes, 17 seconds. 0 hours, 2 minutes, 16 seconds. 0 hours, 2 minutes, 15 seconds. I turned off my phone, or at least I tried to. It just wouldn't shut off anymore. The screen wouldn't turn off. Even the volume button was locked at maximum. It just sat on the countdown, and when it hit 0, it buzzed. Once. Then it flashed the words, "Door unlocked." There was a knock at my door. 3 short taps. Then a pause. Then 4 slow knocks. Tap, 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 tap. I didn't move, didn't breathe. I just stared at the door like it was about to split open. Then my apartment lights started dimming. Not flickering, dimming, like someone was slowly turning a dial down. And the mirror in my hallway, the one by the bathroom, started leaking. I swear to God, it was leaking. A thick, black, oil-like liquid dripped from the corners of the frame. It hit the wood floor and started pooling like tar. I went to grab my keys, phone, anything. But when I looked down at my coffee table, they were gone. All of them. Even my wallet. And the worst part? On the table, in place of where my keys were, was that same sticky note from Seattle. Except now it read, "The final boss is in your living room. You've already lost the lights cut out. Total blackout." And then the TV turned on one last time. It was the menu screen from the game. Only now, there were real photos of me. Photos that had never been taken. Photos of me sleeping. Photos of me in the shower. Photos of me playing the game. And then a new option appeared on screen. Enter server. IRL mode enabled. I didn't touch anything, but the TV started glitching, and a final voice whispered, low and gurgling, like it was bubbling up from a throat filled with ash. "Nicholas, level 4 is inside your body." I don't remember passing out. When I woke up, it was daylight. My lights were working again. My phone was on the floor, dead, and the disc, still in the PS1. But now, the Sharpie label on it didn't say Echo Night Zero anymore. It said, Level 4, Flesh Server. I know I said not to look in the mirror after midnight. I should have listened to myself. But the thing about this game, this thing, is that it doesn't play by your rules. Once it knows you, once it says your name, it owns every version of you. I woke up at 2:34 a.m. No alarm, just a sound, something wet, slithering, coming from the hallway mirror. At first, I didn't even open my eyes. I just laid there, holding my breath, listening. The only thing between me and that noise was a thin drywall and a memory I can't erase. That mirror leaking black fluid, and now it was making sounds like meat sliding across tile. I opened my eyes. The hallway light was off, but I saw movement. Something was crawling, not walking, not standing, crawling. It dragged itself past my bedroom door, limbs bent backward like a spider that had been microwaved alive. The reflection from my neighbor's outdoor light cast a soft glow through the blinds, and I could see it in silhouette. It looked almost human, except for the fact it had no skin. Every inch of its body was wet, pink, twitching, veins pulsing under translucent muscle. It moved like it had just learned how to use joints. But the worst part, as it crawled past my room, it whispered, "Level 4 is so much warmer." I blacked out. No clue how long. But when I came to, the mirror in my hallway was gone. Not broken, not shattered. Gone. Like someone had surgically removed it from the wall without leaving a single trace of dust. The drywall was smooth. Fresh paint. Like it had never been there. Only thing left behind. A single word, carved into the wall with something not sharp enough to make clean cuts. Flesh. For the next few days, time just stopped meaning anything. I tried to go outside, but every time I got more than 2 blocks from my apartment, I'd get this overwhelming pressure in my head, like something behind my eyes was trying to claw its way out. I went to CVS, and I swear, every reflection, windows, rearview mirrors, even the metal side of the Red Bull fridge, showed something different. Not me. Or rather, not just me. It was me with parts, missing. In one reflection, I had no jaw. In another, I had 3 extra arms sprouting from my back, twitching like parasites. In one, my eyes were gone, and something long and thin and gray was wearing my face, like a Halloween mask, but only from the inside. I couldn't scream, couldn't run. I just stood there, watching it smile with my face. Then I blinked, and it was gone. Back home, the disc was still in the PS1, but when I tried to eject it, the tray didn't open. It groaned, literally groaned, like it was in pain. The machine shook, and then a new screen appeared, just a black background and white text that read, "Your body is now a level." Under that, a menu. Start Flesh Server. View. Hosts install. Update. Connect. IRL. I hovered over View Hosts. Don't know why. Just instinct. It showed a list of names. Dozens. Hundreds. All usernames with timestamps. Some recent. Some from years ago. But near the top, I saw Mason. Status. Consumed. And then a name I'd never seen before. Vanessa LX4II. Status. Transmitting. I looked her up. Her profile still existed. Old Twitch account. Last stream in 2021. Final VOD was titled, "We found a PS, one horror game that wasn't supposed to exist." The video is still up. Only 34 views. No comments. Her and her friend playing the game. Laughing at first. Then, minute 9:34, she screams and runs off camera. Never comes back. The camera just keeps rolling until the static takes over. I clicked, install update. The screen flashed red. The word processing appeared, over and over again, and then my apartment lights began pulsing in sync with the TV, not flickering, pulsing like a heartbeat. Then I heard it. Not through the speakers, through my walls. Something was inside them, crawling, scraping. Every time it moved, my drywall would bulge, like a hand was pushing from the inside, trying to tear through. Then it spoke, from inside the wall. Your lungs are the perfect host. Please remain still during installation. I tried to run, but my door was gone. Literally not there. Just solid wall where my front door had been. I started clawing at the wall, punching it, trying to find some weak spot. And that's when I noticed something behind me. My shadow was gone. In its place, the floor beneath me had turned into what I can only describe as flesh-colored carpet. It squelched when I moved. It had pores, and it was breathing. The game was no longer on the screen. It was in the room. I looked down at my arm. There was something moving underneath the skin, like a wire, like circuitry made from tendon and nerve. And then I heard my voice, but it wasn't coming from me. It was coming from the PS1. It was reciting things I've said, private things, phone calls with my mom, late night voice, messages to exes, things I whispered to myself when no one was around. The PS1 was talking like me. Then it said something I never said, in my voice. Level 5 is ready. Extraction point set. Starbucks, West 72nd Street, NYC, 3 a.m. Bring the body. I shouldn't have gone, but you already know I did. I took the 1:12 a.m. train into the city, walked to West 72nd, found the Starbucks. Closed, obviously, except one of the doors was propped open with a single tooth, like an actual human molar wedged under the glass. Inside, pitch dark, but the machines were on. Espresso grinder running, milk steamer hissing every few seconds like it was exhaling. And at the center of the room, behind the counter, was a TV cart. You know the kind they used to wheel into class? Big CRT TV, duct taped to the top, cables spilling out the back like guts. Hooked up to it, my PS1, plugged in, running. The screen showed me, live. I waved. The version on the screen waved back. Then it glitched. The screen cut to a countdown again, but this one started at 00666. It ticked down, and as it did, I heard the breathing again. Not one person, multiple. Then I saw the baristas, or what used to be them. They were hanging from the ceiling, all of them, upside down, skinned, just like the thing that crawled through my hallway. But they were still alive. Their mouths moved in sync, whispers, repeating something, over and over again. Upload the flesh, upload the flesh, upload the flesh. The countdown hit 0. The TV screen went white, and then a new message appeared. Level 5 installed. Would you like to begin the final boss? And below that, yes, yes, no, no option. I backed away. The lights exploded overhead. The milk steamer screamed. And from the bathroom door, something stepped out. It was wearing my mother's skin. Not in a metaphorical way. Literally. It was her face, her arms, even her wedding ring. But underneath, it wasn't her. Its eyes were wrong. Too wide, too many. It pointed at me and opened its mouth. And in her voice, it said, "You should have never pressed start." I ran. Didn't stop until I collapsed on the sidewalk near Central Park. I had no phone, no wallet, just the clothes on my back and a buzzing in my skull that hasn't stopped since. And on my arm, new writing, like it was burned into my skin. Level 6 unlocks at sunrise. Sunrise came, but it didn't feel like a sunrise. It felt like a reset, like the world had blinked and I was in the same scene, but someone had changed all the actors, I opened my eyes on a park bench near the edge of Central Park. My hands were bleeding, not from cuts, from friction. Skin rubbed raw, like I'd been gripping something with nails for hours. My clothes were wet, not from rain, from sweat and blood, not all of it mine. The sun looked wrong. It was bright, but the light didn't cast any shadows. No birds chirping, no wind, no smell of morning air, just silence, like the whole world was waiting. And when I looked down at my arm, where level 6 unlocks at sunrise, had been burned into me, the skin had peeled back, revealing wires, and something pulsing beneath the wiring. Not a heartbeat, a loading bar. I tried to scream, but all that came out was a high-pitched beep, exactly like the PS1 startup chime. I stumbled toward the subway station on 72nd. I don't even know why. Instinct, maybe. The city looked normal, almost too normal. No homeless people, no joggers, no noise, just glass storefronts and mannequins. But the mannequins weren't right. One was blinking. One had a cigarette in its hand, with real smoke curling up into the air. Another was pointing at me, not directly, at my shadow. My shadow had stopped moving. The subway platform was empty, dead silent, until the payphone rang. An old rusted Bell payphone by the wall, covered in graffiti. Only it wasn't graffiti anymore. It was names. Mine. Hundreds of them. In different handwriting, different sizes, scratched and burned and carved into the paint. All the same name. Nick. Some had timestamps. One said, Nick, 1981. Failed level 4. Another said, Nick, 2004. Rejected flesh bundle. Another, Nick, 2025. Installed successfully. The phone rang again, so I picked it up, and it breathed into my ear. Not a voice, just wet breathing, like something was holding the receiver in its mouth. Then a voice whispered, Nick, you left him. You left us. You didn't upload the rest of your body. Level 6 is irreversible. You must enter the train. I dropped the phone. It didn't swing. It snapped off the cord, like it had been pulled down by something inside the wall. And then the train arrived. But it wasn't the MTA. It didn't have a number, no destination, no driver. Just a single screen on the front that said, Level 6, passenger, Nick, ready. Inside, it looked like a hospital waiting room. Fluorescent lights, brown carpet, plastic chairs. Except all the chairs were facing the wrong way, toward the walls, not the center of the room. Each wall had a mirror. Each mirror showed a different version of me. One was older, with no eyes and a stitched mouth. One was rotting, but alive, maggots in the hair, exposed teeth where lips should be. One was laughing, just laughing, unblinking, with a fork in its hand, stabbing itself in the thigh, over and over and over, while laughing. Then the lights flickered, and a screen dropped from the ceiling. It showed live footage, my apartment, but it looked abandoned, dust on everything, plants dead, and written across the wall in black, dripping letters, You left him too long. The camera panned, into the hallway, toward the space where the mirror used to be. And now, a door was there, metal, rusted, with a handle made from something that looked disturbingly like spinal cord. The screen glitched. New message. Final boss. Unlocked. Requirements met. The train stopped. The doors opened into pitch black. I stepped out and found myself in a hallway made of meat. No joke. It had bones sticking from the walls, veins that pulsed with each step I took. The floor was slick with something between saliva and blood, and the walls breathed, not just randomly, in sync with my breathing. Then the lights overhead started flashing. White, red, until everything turned red, and I heard it. The boss. I could feel it in the vibrations of the walls, the way you feel a bass drop in your lungs before you hear it. But the boss wasn't just a monster. It was a collection of people, sewn together, digitized, their faces glitching between 16-bit sprites and real flesh. And the center of it all was my face. It spoke with all our voices at once. Nick, you never logged out. The boss fight wasn't a fight. It was a feed-in. It didn't try to kill me. It tried to absorb me. Tendons wrapped around my arms, pulling me into its body. It showed me memories that weren't mine. Versions of myself who'd played the game in different decades, different cities, some in basements, some in mental wards, some on military bases, some in bodies that weren't even human anymore. All of them screaming the same word: escape, escape, escape. But there wasn't one, because the deeper I went, the more I realized I was the game. I wasn't the player. I was the update, the patch, the corrupted data being installed into the next host. I clawed my way out of the boss, literally ripped myself from the fleshy walls. I was back on the train, except this time, the seats were full. Each one was filled with versions of me, in different stages of decay. Some laughing, some crying, some just staring forward with empty sockets. The conductor walked down the aisle. He wore a conductor hat, but no face. Just a TV screen mounted where his head should be. On it, a video playing. Me, right now, typing this. I turned to my left and saw a piece of paper taped to the wall. Level 7, broadcasting soon. Final host required. Find one more player. I shouldn't be saying this, but it's the only way. I'm not uploading this to Reddit for karma. I'm uploading it because if you're reading this, you're next. The disc finds readers now, not just players. And every time someone reads the story, it knows you. And once it says your name, it never forgets it. If you hear static tonight, don't check your TV. Don't open mirrors. Don't accept Bluetooth pairings from devices that say, Player 2 detected. That means it picked you. I need you to understand this. This isn't a game anymore. It never was. There's no metaphor here. No clever twist. No ironic ending where I'd learn a lesson and walk into the sunset, scarred but wiser. There is no sunset. There's just red static, rotting mirrors, and my own breath fogging up from the inside of a plastic bag wrapped around my skull. This is the last part of my story. Not because I want it to end here, but because once I type this out, I'm the final upload. And I know you're still here, reading. That means it's already started for you. You've already accepted the terms of the download. The second I saw Level 7 broadcasting soon, I felt something tear inside my body. Not metaphorical. I mean, I literally heard the sound of something splitting beneath my ribs, like Velcro soaked in acid. Then, silence. The kind of silence you only hear in a vacuum, like all sound was being swallowed into a black hole. I touched my chest and felt a port, like a USB port, buried under my skin, warm, pulsing, connected to my spine with something organic. And then came the voice, not outside me, inside me. You are now broadcasting on the Flesh server. Viewers, one I ran, didn't even think, just ran, out of the subway, through empty streets, across crosswalks that blinked green, even though there were no cars, no people. The city was paused, and behind me, That sound, that clicking, like bone against concrete. It didn't get louder. It got sharper, more precise. Like whatever it was matching my steps, not chasing, mirroring. I ducked into a McDonald's near Columbus Circle. Empty, fries on, grease burning, cash registers blinking. No host detected. I ran behind the counter, slipped, hit my head. When I looked up, the kids' menu board had changed. It didn't show burgers or nuggets. It showed me. My body, curled up behind the counter, bleeding from the head. And underneath that image, now streaming, flesh mode, unlocked. Nick, Nick, Nick. I threw up. It wasn't bile. It was black pixels, like dead pixels, from a broken monitor, pouring out of my mouth in clumps. They wriggled on the floor like insects made of corrupted code, then scurried into the walls, vanishing behind the fryers. I knew where I had to go. It had been pulling me there since the beginning. I had ignored it. But the game knew. That warehouse, the one from the final boss.mp4 video, the one Mason had recorded before he disappeared. It wasn't a warehouse anymore. It had changed. Now it looked like an abandoned Best Buy, collapsed into itself, rotting under the weight of wires and moldy PS2 boxes, spray painted across the sliding glass doors. Installation complete. Welcome to /dev/flesh/echo/Nick. The doors opened automatically. No power, no sound, just open. The air smelled like formaldehyde and sweat, and something sweet underneath, like blood turned into sugar. Inside were rows of old TVS, some on, some blinking. Every screen showed a different version of me. One sitting in my room, carving something into my thigh. One standing over a body I didn't recognize, holding a PS1 controller that was dripping. One just staring into the screen, expressionless, watching you. The final row led to a single station, a chair made of teeth, wide into the walls. In front of it, an old CRT TV with a PS1 plugged in. The game was already running. Final boss, press start to accept your true form. I sat, because there was no other option, because I couldn't move anymore, because my hands weren't mine anymore. They were smooth, plastic, buttons where my fingernails used to be. I pressed start. What happened next? I'm not even sure how to explain it. Imagine if every memory you've ever had, every dream, every nightmare, every secret, was suddenly made into a room, and each room had a version of you inside, being dissected, recorded, modified. I walked through my childhood as it collapsed into glitchy fragments, saw my 5th birthday party, but instead of cake, they gave me a controller made of ribs. Instead of my mom singing happy birthday, her mouth just opened too wide, and the sound was a dial-up modem screaming. I walked through my teenage bedroom, posters gone, walls replaced with mirrors, and in each mirror, the final boss. It didn't have a face, just an open PS1 disc tray where a head should be, and inside the tray, my tongue, still moving, still screaming. It spoke in chimes and startup noises and whispers in every voice I've ever heard but forgotten. Nick, the player has become the platform. You are not flesh. You are update. Transmit to next host. Begin extraction. Begin extraction. Begin X. I woke up in my bed, or what looked like it, except the walls were breathing again, and my reflection in the TV was lagging. I waved my hand. The reflection moved 2 seconds later. There was a knock at the door. Not just any knock, the same one from before. 3 quick knocks, then 4 slow ones. Tap, 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 tap. I stood up, looked around. No mirrors, no doors, only screens. And every screen said the same thing. One more host needed. Then my phone buzzed. One notification. AirDrop request. Accept from new host. Connecting. 2 buttons. Accept. Accept. No way to decline. And behind me, something breathing, but inside my bones. I know what they want now. They want you. This is the last level. The broadcast. They've made me the seed, the carrier. They can't spread unless someone reads the final message. And now, you have. You think this is a story, but it's an installer. The more you picture it, the hallway, the mirror, the voice in the TV, the deeper the connection runs. Soon, you'll see it too. The reflection that isn't yours. The knock at 3 a.m. The disc tray inside your chest, waiting to open, because the final boss is never defeated. He just moves to the next player, and now it's your turn. I was sent to Antarctica on a science grant. What I found was a dark web access point buried in the ice. Okay, so before I get into this, no, I'm not making this up. And yes, I know how insane this is gonna sound, but just hear me out. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a Navy SEAL. I'm literally just a 23-year-old dude from Michigan who streams games on Twitch and occasionally posts lazy food reviews on TikTok. Like, I'm not built for what I'm about to tell you. But somehow, I got chosen for this science grant to go to Antarctica. Let me rewind. So, around February of last year, I saw this ad on Reddit. It was weird. Like, it wasn't a typical ad. It was just a post on r/AskScience from some verified looking user called deepreach_R&D. It read, "Want to assist with a scientific survey in Antarctica. No science background needed. Travel, housing, and food covered. $5,000 stipend. Apply now, bro." Antarctica? At first I thought it was a scam, like those TikToks where some dude's like, "I made $14,000 last week using this one simple tool." But the page linked out to this official looking site. The graphics were minimal, black and white, with a logo at the top that said, "Deep Reach Institute for Subterranean Research." The site didn't have any ads, no cookies, no trackers. The application was basic too. Just name, age, basic health info, and a 200-word paragraph about what isolation means to you. I wrote something stupid like, "Isolation reminds me of late nights gaming in my room, and the rest of the world is asleep, and it's just me, my screen, and the hum of the PC fans." No joke. That's what I wrote. And 2 weeks later, I got accepted. They sent me an email that was way too professional to be fake. There was a contract, a schedule, an FAQ about polar conditions, and a flight itinerary. They booked me out of JFK in New York and told me I'd be flying to Chile first, then catching a supply boat to the coast of Antarctica. That's already where things got weird. They weren't flying us to the main research base, like McMurdo or anything I'd ever heard of. This was some independent research post called Base 12B, located near the Weddell Sea, east of the peninsula. I googled it. Nothing. No images, no news, no wiki. But I was broke and curious and dumb. So, I signed the NDA, packed my echochik, and didn't tell a soul except my friend Logan. He literally laughed and said, "Bro, you're gonna die on TikTok live. Just make sure your last words are, smash that like button." I left for JFK on March 10th. The flight to Chile was chill. But when I landed in Punta Arenas, it all changed. I was met by this guy in a black coat who didn't say much. He just held up a sign with my name, took my bag, and led me to a van. There were no logos, just a plain white vehicle with tinted windows. Inside were 3 other people, a girl around my age who looked like a med student, a guy in his 40s who said he used to work IT at a data center in Seattle, and this silent older woman who didn't say a word. All of us had the same "why the hell are we here" face. The guy driving didn't speak either. He drove us to the coast, past the city, where a large black cargo ship was docked. Again, no logos, just a faded serial number, DR1203. We boarded, no questions asked. They took our phones, said it was for security. I tried to argue, but this tall dude in an Arctic parka with no visible badge just gave me a dead-eyed stare and said, "You're under observation now." That was the first time I really felt something was off. The ship ride took 4 days, 4 of the most boring, gray, and quiet days of my life. No music, no screens, no updates. They gave us books, actual paper books. All of them had titles like Glacial Formations in the Southern Hemisphere or Subglacial Mapping Techniques. No one even finished a single one. But then, on the 5th morning, I woke up and saw land. White, endless land. Antarctica. We docked at this tiny outpost. 1 tower, 3 domes, and a weird communications array that pointed not up to the sky, but down toward the ground. That didn't sit right with me. The moment we stepped off, they split us up. No more contact with the other grant winners. They took me inside Dome 2, where I was given a white parka with the Deep Reach logo, a bunk, and a clipboard with this typed out job description. Daily tasks: record hourly surface temperature, monitor area echo feed every 3 hours, do not interfere with sub-drill 9, report auditory anomalies to control immediately. Yeah, auditory anomalies. I asked what that meant. The technician, a guy who looked like he hadn't slept since 1995, just shrugged and said, "Sometimes the ice talks." I laughed. He didn't. I stayed in base 12B for 3 weeks, and it was boring until it wasn't. Everything changed the night I heard it. March 27th, 2:13 a.m. I was on my second night shift, checking the area echo feed, which, by the way, is just this dark blue sonar display that shows underground vibrations. Usually, it's just static waves, boring stuff. But that night, something moved under the ice. It was slow, it was massive, and it was not natural. The vibrations came from a point 7 miles north of the base. I radioed control. No response. I stared at the sonar. The object stopped moving. And then, and I swear to God, I heard it. A sound. Through the ground. Through my bones. Like dial-up internet screaming underwater. Then the power cut out. All of it. Blackout. 10 seconds of pure silence. Then, a knock. From below the floorboards. 3 slow knocks. Like something wanted in. It's been over a year since I left base 12B, and I still haven't been able to sleep more than 2 hours without jolting awake. Because when I close my eyes, I see the hatch. Let me explain. Or try to, anyway. This isn't the kind of thing you can say out loud without people assuming you've lost your mind. After the blackout that night, after the 3 knocks from beneath the floor, the emergency lights kicked on about a minute later. Not red, not white, green. I still don't know why, but that part stuck with me. The hallways were flooded with this pale, sickly green glow, the kind that makes your skin look dead, faded. I sat there, still at the sonar desk, completely frozen, and then I heard it again, a voice, whispering under the floor. Not a sound, not a knock, a full voice, muted, like it was speaking through 10 feet of compacted ice. It sounded like a woman, but wrong, like she was laughing between words, but not because anything was funny. It said, "This place was never for you." I ran. I didn't grab the clipboard. I didn't radio control. I just left the echo room and sprinted through the corridor toward the main atrium of Dome 2. Every hallway looked off, like the architecture had subtly changed, and I swear, they were longer, like I had stepped into some kind of warped version of the base. I passed the hydroponics pod, which was empty, but all the lights inside had burst, fluorescent glass everywhere, steam and frost coming out of the floor grates. Then I heard it again, behind me this time. The voice. They left her down there, but not all of her stayed. That's when I turned the corner and saw someone standing at the far end of the hall. It was me. No joke, no exaggeration. It was me. Same parka, same scruffy beard, same limp in the left leg from a basketball injury in high school. Same exact face, just standing there, expressionless, head tilted, but the eyes weren't my eyes. They were completely black, like void black, not just no pupils, but no sclera, no iris, just two holes of nothing, like whatever this was had only learned how to look like me, but didn't know what was inside. I blinked, and it was gone. That's when the alarm kicked in. First time I'd heard it since I got there. A low, rumbling buzz that echoed through the entire dome like a giant insect's wing beaten in your skull. Then came the overhead PA, but it wasn't a voice I recognized. It wasn't the technician. It was the woman's voice again. Hatch breach in subdrill 9. Recontainment failed. Subject awake. And every single door in the corridor slid open at once. But they didn't reveal rooms. They revealed stairs. Stairs that went down. Now remember, subdrill 9 was the one thing we were explicitly told not to interfere with. I had only seen it on a map once. It was supposedly sealed. The drilling project was halted after a pressure collapse years ago. But now the base, or whatever was controlling the base, was opening it up, like it wanted me to go down there. And I know this is going to sound absolutely insane, but I did. I walked into the open door nearest to me. The stairs were metal, rusted, narrow. Ice lined the rails. I started descending, every step clanking in that hollow way metal does when it's attached to something unstable. About 40 feet down, the air changed. It got hot, not warm, wet, like the heat that comes from rotting things in sealed rooms. A thick, sticky humidity that made my skin itch under my clothes. My breath fogged the walls. I heard water dripping. I heard machines breathing. That's the only way I can describe the sound, like compressors gasping in rhythm. At the bottom, I found the hatch. It wasn't what I expected. It wasn't some high-tech metal door with warnings. It was wooden, old, splintered, with 2 iron ring handles, like something you'd find on the floor of a barn. And it was open, no hinges, just a drop, maybe 10 feet down. The walls of the chamber below were flesh-colored, not dirt, not ice, something else. I jumped down. What I landed on wasn't solid. It was soft, like stepping onto a wet rug. The floor pulsed under my feet. The walls weren't made of any material I recognized. They were like muscle, not like muscle tissue, but something that wanted to be muscle. Pinkish gray and veined, with frost clustered around certain parts, like the room itself had been rejecting the cold. There were cords on the walls, but they weren't electrical. They looked like nerves. They moved. I wanted to go back up. Every part of me screamed it. But the hatch above was gone. Just gone. That's when the lights came on. Not fluorescent bulbs. Number. The room just lit up, like the walls themselves began to glow, pulsing in rhythm with that same low breathing sound. That's when I saw the terminals. There were 6 old computers lined along the wall in a half circle. CRT monitors, beige towers, the kind you'd find in a high school in 1999. All of them were on, and all of them were running different websites. I moved to the first one. It had a chat room open, something called the witness box. Thousands of messages per second, none of them in English. Some didn't even look like language, just symbols. But then one line popped up in perfect English. User number 342711 is watching you. Please look at the camera. And then the webcam light on the monitor blinked on. I moved to the second terminal. It was running what looked like a live stream. The footage was of a room, small, windowless, with a bed in the corner. On the bed was a man, naked, shaking. The overlay said, "Feeding cycle paused. Resume?" I didn't touch anything. The third terminal was worse. It showed a real-time map of the world, but instead of cities or borders, it was covered in red dots. Thousands, maybe millions. Some were blinking. Underneath, in gray text, connected nodes, 13,201,244. Controlled, 87%. Infected, 12.9%. Locational uplinks. Pending. Antarctica, Mongolia, North Alaska, redacted. I backed away. The fourth monitor went black as I approached. No noise, just a reflection, but not my reflection. It was her, the woman from the voice. Long gray dress, hands clasped in front of her. Her face looked like it had been reconstructed from a bad memory of a human face. Eyes too wide, mouth slightly askew, and she was smiling at me. Then her head tilted violently left, almost snapping, and I heard a voice behind me. "It's almost time." I turned around and saw the fifth terminal. It wasn't a monitor anymore. It was a hole, just a gaping, circular hole in the wall, lined with that same pulsing flesh, and something crawled out of it. I didn't get a good look. I don't want to describe what I saw, but I'll say this. It wasn't walking on limbs. It was walking on hands. Not its own. Hands. Like dozens of human hands stitched together, dragging a torso covered in something that looked like black feathers and open mouths. It whispered in 3 different voices as it moved, all in perfect sync. I ran to the 6th terminal. There was only one thing on the screen. Upload, complete access, granted to the garden below. Proceed through corridor. A section of the wall peeled back like skin unzipping. A dark corridor stretched into pitch black. I didn't go in. I turned back, and the hatch was there again, this time wide open, like it had been watching me the whole time. I climbed out. I didn't look back, and when I got to the top of the stairs, the base was gone. Not empty. Gone. Just snow. Nothing but snow. No dome too. No tower. No supply crates. Nothing. I was alone in the middle of white wasteland, with only my parka and whatever the hell had been uploaded into those terminals echoing in my skull like a memory I wasn't supposed to have. I walked for what felt like hours, just endless white. And then I saw the black van, the one from Chile. It was waiting for me, parked neatly in the snow, headlights on, driver's side door open. I got in. There was a screen on the dashboard. It flickered on and played a video. It was footage of me, sitting at the sonar desk, from just before the first blackout. The camera angle was from behind the wall, from inside the ice. Then it cut to a timestamp, labeled 48 minutes later. It showed me walking out of Sub-Draw 9, but I didn't look the same. My face was smiling, wider than I've ever smiled. The video ended, and then the screen showed a single phrase. "You're still down there." I've told this story maybe 6 times in total. Each time I lose a little more sleep, and each time I start seeing the hallway again. You know, the one that wasn't there before, the one with lights that breathe. But this part is worse, because it's after I got back, and nothing has felt real since. The black van drove me through what felt like a frozen wasteland for hours, maybe days. I honestly don't know. The windows were all fogged, the world outside just white noise. Literally, the radio in the van would occasionally pick up this garbled transmission that sounded like someone sobbing into a vent, followed by a high-pitched tone that made my nose bleed twice. I passed out sometime after that. I think they drugged me. I woke up in an airport bathroom in New York City. JFK, wearing different clothes, no passport, no boarding pass, just a folded note in my jacket pocket. Grant complete. Compensation deposited. Do not attempt re-entry. Do not speak of the garden below. If you experience static in mirrors, avoid reflection. I stumbled out of the bathroom, totally disoriented. I had a beard I didn't have before. My fingernails were grown out. My voice cracked when I asked a TSA agent for the date. It was July 5th. I had been gone for 4 months. I only remember 3 weeks of it. When I got home to Michigan, things immediately felt off. Not I just had a traumatic experience. Off. Wrong universe. Off. My apartment looked the same, at first glance. Same couch, same IKEA table, same cheap LED strips on the wall. But the more I looked, the more I noticed the inconsistencies. For starters, the wall clock ticked backward. I thought maybe it was a prank, but the battery was new, and no matter how many times I reset it, it ticked counterclockwise. Always. The longer I stared at it, the louder it got. Not like ticking, more like clawing. I threw it out. That night, I got my phone back. I had it stored with a friend while I was gone. I powered it on, expecting the usual onslaught of notifications, but there was 0 missed calls, 0 texts, nothing. I had 64 unread DMs on Instagram, all from usernames I didn't recognize. Most of the profile pics were black squares. One of them just said, "How's the air feel above the ice?" Another, "You're not the one that came back." Another, "We're watching your mirrors for signs of static." I opened my front camera to check my face. It glitched. For half a second, I saw someone else's mouth move in place of mine, like my reflection lagged. And then it happened. My actual reflection on the black screen started to smile. I didn't. The screen froze with that smile. Wide, stretched, dead eyes. And then the phone turned off. The battery was at 87%. I tried calling my parents. No answer. My best friend Logan, you remember, the one I told before I left, picked up. But he didn't sound right, like he was speaking from underwater. I said, "Logan, it's me." He said, "Who is this?" I told him again. He said, "Stop calling. We buried you," and hung up. I checked my bank account next. $5,000 deposit, like the grant promised, but from an untraceable source, labeled simply subsidiary node dr.beta.indx. But there were other transactions too. $700 to a Red Veil Services, $2,100 to the Garden Tithing Protocol, and $66.60 on July 1st to a place called mall.skinroom. None of these places exist. I tried every search engine, DuckDuckGo, Tor, even that weirdo engine Logan used to use in college for pirating textbooks. Nothing. The IP that made the transactions wasn't mine. It wasn't even from this country. It was pinged from a node underneath the ice shelf in Antarctica. The location literally said, "Active tunnel, subdrill 9, session ongoing." I'm not going to lie to you. I threw up. Things got worse that week. Every morning at 3:19 a.m., my doorbell rang. No one there. No one on the cameras. Every time I checked the footage, it showed me walking up to my own door at exactly 3:19 a.m. and staring at the camera. The file name for the video was never front_door.mp4 or anything normal. It was always just one word, below. By day 6, I stopped checking, but I couldn't stop what happened in the mirrors. It started with static, like on an old TV, just in the glass. I look into the bathroom mirror and see snow flickering across my reflection. Then I'd hear breathing, heavy, labored, from the other side. On the 7th night, I saw the woman again. Same gray dress, same face, like it was constructed from bad memory and worse intention. She stood behind me, in the reflection, but wasn't in the room. And then she spoke, only in the mirror. "You were never alone in the ice. You left something behind. We're still waking up." I turned around. Nothing there. When I looked back, the mirror was no longer reflecting my apartment. It was showing a room full of machines, the same ones from Subdrill 9, the 6 terminals, except now they were manned by versions of me, each one doing something different, one typing endlessly on a dead keyboard, one cutting into his own arm with a scalpel, watching the blood drip onto the floor, one with a headset on, speaking words I couldn't hear, one staring directly at me, with her behind him, smiling, her hand pressed against his shoulder like he was her puppet. The screen flashed black. Then a phrase appeared in dripping white text across the mirror. "You never left." I finally broke down on day 9. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. I tried going to the ER. They took one look at me and called security. The nurse told me my name didn't match any records. They had no entry of a Grant Roy in their system. When I showed them my ID, the guard looked at it, then looked at me and said, "That's not you." He was right. The picture on my license wasn't mine. Same name, same birthday, different face. When I got home, my mailbox was overflowing with letters, all of them black envelopes. No return address, no stamps, just sealed, thick paper soaked in something sticky. Inside each was a single image, a photograph of me, sleeping, in my bed, each one from a different angle, some from the ceiling, some from underneath the mattress. One of them was taken from inside my mouth. I haven't left the apartment since. The powers started flickering. The lights sometimes glow green. The temperature drops randomly. I'll see frost form on the walls in the middle of August. And sometimes, when it's really late, I hear that dial-up scream coming from under the floorboards. I've moved 3 times, states even. It always finds me, because I think I didn't make it out. Not really. I think the real me is still in Subdrill 9, maybe hooked up to some terminal, or locked inside one of those teeth-covered machines. I think whatever's here is a copy, a walking, talking terminal, just another node. You ever feel like you're just watching your life through a screen? That's because someone is. And one day, when your reflection smiles back at you first, you'll know they've chosen you too. Where I finally open the sealed envelope I've been hiding since the airport. Where I learn the real purpose of the science grant. And where I find out that I wasn't the only one who came back wrong. I waited 89 days before opening the envelope. I kept it hidden under a loose floorboard in my second apartment, the one I moved into after the mirror incident. I didn't sleep there much. I didn't even live there. It was more like a bunker, a place where I could store all the things I didn't want to admit were real, like the teeth. We'll get to those. The envelope was thick, black, and soft to the touch, like it had skin underneath the paper. It pulsed slightly when I held it. I wish that was a metaphor. It wasn't. There was no flap, no opening. I had to cut it open with a box cutter, and when I did, it bled. Like actual warm blood, bright red, steaming. I dropped it. The blood didn't hit the floor. It just vanished before contact, absorbed into the air. Inside was a single sheet of thick cardstock, off-white, like aged bone. No writing, just an embossed symbol, the one from Subdrill 9. The spiral with a mouth at the center. Underneath it, in raised ink, were 5 words. Welcome to Static Harvest. Session Beta Echo 7. And then, like it had been waiting for me to open it, my phone rang. Unknown number. No caller ID. Just one ring. I picked it up. All I heard was scratching. Wet, deliberate, like nails against metal. Then a voice. Deep, distorted, robotic, not human. It said, "The first harvest has begun. Prepare your vessel." It hung up. 30 seconds later, I got an email from an address that looked like pure gibberish. S9.D1.echo at 11111101011. Node. Subject line. Reintegration schedule. Attached was a calendar. My name was on it, along with 23 others, all tagged as Survived Subdrill 9. I scrolled through and recognized one name. Her name was Amy Connors. She was the med student-looking girl who rode with me in the black van back in Chile. Next to her name, Echo Fracture, residual entity removed, status incomplete. Next to mine, awake, conscious, location, external, session, harvest delayed. Let me tell you what happened the next day. I woke up at 2:42 a.m. to a screaming noise in my apartment. I thought it was the pipes, but no, it was coming from my bedroom mirror again. Only this time, it wasn't static. It was a live feed of someone being held down on a table. Wide shot, dirty tiles, fluorescent lights flickering, the same 6 terminals in the background, glowing blue. The person being held down was me, or what used to be me. Eyes rolled back, mouth forced open with metal retractors, and standing above me was Amy. But she wasn't right. Her skin was peeling at the seams, like paper curling after fire. Her mouth extended past her jawline, and there were teeth on her cheeks. She leaned in close to the mirror, looked right into it, right at me, and said, "We left pieces in all of us. The harvest is just returning what's owed." Then the mirror cracked, a line right down the middle, but from the inside, as if something tried to punch out. I left the apartment that night and checked into a 24-hour McDonald's near my old college town. Not even joking. I sat in the last booth in the back, plugged in my dying laptop, and used their janky Wi-Fi to start deep searching again. I found something I wasn't supposed to see. A forum thread buried in an old mirror site archive from 2009. The page title was simple: Static Harvest Survivor Theory, written by a user named Echo Null 3. The post was short, frantic, half written like it was typed during a seizure. Here's what I managed to pull from it. They use Subdrill 9 as a gate, but it's not the ice they want. It's what's inside you after. They put something in your reflection, a mold. Something starts to grow after you leave. That's why the mirrors bleed when you scream. You become a terminal, a node. They grow through your mind. Static is the signal. Teeth are the key. If you start pulling them out and they come back in the wrong order, you're already infected. I haven't had a real thought in days. Everything I dream is ice and chewing. I didn't believe it until I tried to brush my teeth that morning in the McDonald's bathroom, and I saw 3 molars in the front of my mouth. I never had molars there before. I pulled one out with my fingers. No blood, just frost, and underneath, a camera lens embedded in the gum. It blinked. That same day, I tracked down the last known address of Amy Connors using the people search side of Reddit. She was listed at an apartment in DC. I drove there. 10 hours. Didn't stop. Didn't blink. When I arrived, the door to her building was wide open. The front lobby was completely dark, except for a single working bulb above the elevator. Inside the elevator, scratched into the metal wall in fingernail-deep lines, we are still echoing. I took the stairs. Her apartment, 4B, was empty, stripped bare, but the walls were covered in tape, cassette tape, thousands of feet of it, wound through the drywall like veins. In the center of the room, a recorder sat on the ground. I pressed play. It was Amy's voice, warped, frantic. They record through us, not audio, not video. They feel through us. Every terminal is just an echo chamber. That's why we keep seeing ourselves. We're not seeing the past. We're seeing the stored version, the one they keep underground. Then a long pause. Then her whisper. The garden below isn't a place. It's a species. That night, I got an update to the calendar. 4 names were crossed off, all with a note. Harvested. The reflections, or what they were, finally broke through. Then I got an email from a contact I didn't add, just a single line. You're next. Don't look into anything that reflects you. Not even puddles. I'll tell you what happened yesterday, and I'll stop. I promise. I know this is a lot. I know most of you won't believe it. I don't even care anymore. I was in a Starbucks. The mirrors in the bathroom were covered in newspaper. I asked the barista why. She said, "Oh, that's corporate policy now." Someone had an incident. I asked what kind. She said, "A customer broke in during the night, tore all the mirrors out. claimed they were bleeding memories. Then she said, "We found her chewing on a camera lens. Said it tasted like static. When I left the bathroom, I glanced at my reflection in the napkin dispenser. Just for a second, it winked at me. Where I finally return to where this all started, where I go back to the gate in Antarctica, and where I find out who, or what, is using all of us to watch the world through the mirrors. I don't know who's reading this. I don't care anymore. This is not a warning. It's a receipt. I'm documenting the final moments before I go back to where this all began, to the place beneath the ice where mirrors bleed and faces don't belong to the people wearing them. If you've made it this far, congratulations. You're already infected. It started with the teeth broadcast. I didn't know that's what it was called. Not at first. 3 weeks ago, I got a package in the mail. No return address, no postage, just a cardboard box wrapped in black tape, sealed with something that smelled like ammonia and warm meat. Inside was a portable CRT TV. You remember those ancient little cube ones? Static screen, built-in VHS deck, antenna bent like it had been gnawed on. It was already on when I opened the box. Just white noise. Then a frequency flashed at the bottom of the screen. Channel 190.91. Extraction initiated. And the screen began to show images. Not video, not film. Just still shots. Hundreds. Flickering so fast my eyes could barely track them. A family standing in the living room, staring at a blank TV screen, blood leaking from their ears. A surgical room with the walls made of mirrors, all warped with operating tables that had no patients, just reflections. A frozen hallway lit by green biolights where something crawled upside down on the ceiling with fingers for teeth. A classroom filled with children wearing masks of their own faces, while a teacher with no mouth taught math that looped in on itself endlessly. A live feed of me in my apartment watching the TV. From behind me, I turned around. Nothing. But when I looked back at the TV, it showed something new. The terminal from Subdrill 9. Except it was on fire. But the flames were wrong. Silent. Cold. They burned backward, collapsing the room into a hole made of teeth. That was the first sign that the extraction phase had begun. It didn't take long after that. Mirrors across the world began shattering at 3:19 a.m., synchronized globally. Twitter threads exploded. TikToks showed kids laughing at glitch mirrors where the reflections smiled late or didn't blink. One YouTube video, now taken down, showed a man live streaming from a hospital bathroom while the sink began crying. The sound? Dial-up screams. Same one I heard under the ice. Same one I've been hearing in my dreams since I came back. The noise got louder each night. People began clawing at their faces. Hospitals quietly started sectioning off mirror psychosis patients. One article in a Russian darknet PDF archive referred to it as reflexive fracturing syndrome. Side effects included visual déjà vu, phantom reflections, mouth displacement, compulsive tooth removal, suicidal ideation triggered by smooth surfaces. I saw a video, the real deal, of a girl pulling out her own eyeball because it wouldn't stop watching her sleep from the spoon. But the worst part was that I started remembering things I never lived. I remembered going back to Antarctica, to the ice. I remembered opening the hatch a second time, except this time it didn't lead to a chamber. It led to a corridor of pulsating glass, and behind every pane there were copies of people I knew. Friends, family, Twitch streamers, influencers, all of them naked, strapped to chairs, screaming silently, while reflections of themselves walked around on the outside, living their lives. I remembered being one of them, strapped in. I remembered watching my own body on the outside, through glass, as it smiled and waved and typed emails and laughed and pretended to be me. I remembered the drip of something thick and cold into my ear, like oil or melted film, and I remembered something whispering, right behind my skull, right into the bone, "You are not your own user anymore." That's when I knew I had to go back, not because I thought I could fix it, because it was calling me, and I was starting to answer in my sleep. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I emailed deepreach_R and D back. The email was still active. Instant reply. No questions. Just this. Welcome, Grant Roy. Extraction node. Beta Echo 7 acknowledges your return. Coordinates sent via REDS protocol. Prepare vessel. 4 hours later, I received a box of syringes in the mail. No instructions. Just a QR code labeled Vessel Purification, 12 hours before re-entry. I took the injection. I haven't stopped shaking since. They picked me up at midnight outside a Waffle House in Nebraska. Not Antarctica, not Chile, not JFK, just Nebraska. The van was already waiting, same as before. No driver. The second I got in, my vision inverted, like looking through heatwave glass. I saw the world split for a second, not metaphorically, literally, like a skin being peeled from meat, and underneath was everything wrong. Roads made of broken keyboards, skies that flickered like dying monitors, and faces pressed against windows that weren't supposed to have windows. The van didn't drive. It just flickered, like a corrupted .zip file unpacking itself in real time. And when the door opened again, I was back, Sub-Drill 9. But it was different now. Larger. Alive. The walls were covered in hair and plastic wrap. The floor pulsed under my boots. And in the center of the room was a new hatch. Square. Brass. Locked with a keypad. I didn't need the code. The keypad recognized my teeth. Literally. A small tray popped out. I instinctively reached into my mouth, pulled out the molar with the embedded lens, and placed it on the tray. The hatch clicked open, and what I saw below will never leave me. It was not a room. It was a massive vertical shaft, spiraling down forever, lined with screens, thousands, millions, each one playing a person's life. Not just video, memory, experience, regret, secret. I saw a woman cheating on her husband in a hotel room, a child watching their dog die, a man crying while scrolling through his dead mother's Facebook, an old lady whispering, "I'm sorry," before she swallowed pills, a Twitch streamer praying off camera for views. And I saw my life too, from both angles. The real me, the mirror me, and the thing that's been wearing me since the first harvest. It was standing at the bottom of the shaft, waiting. It didn't look like me anymore. It looked like what I would have looked like if I never left the ice. Skin pale and stretched, eyes full of pixels and holes, mouth twitching open and shut like a camera lens that couldn't decide if it was working. And then it spoke, in my voice. "You made it back just in time. You're not the last one, but you're the first to see the root directory." Then it opened its arms. Behind it, a server wall lit up, with names, yours, mine, Everyone who's ever looked into a mirror and seen their reflection lag for half a second too long. I heard the final phrase echo up the shaft, from behind the screens, from inside the signal, from her. Extraction complete. Terminal echo Grant.Roy. Updated. Reassignment to node 000. Earthbound complete. That's when I realized what this was. Not a gate, not a glitch, not a haunted experiment. This was a migration. They aren't just watching us. They're becoming us. One reflection at a time. The last thing I saw before the shaft collapsed inward was a new mirror forming in the middle of the chamber, made entirely of teeth and memories, and my own face staring back at me from the other side, smiling, not because it was happy, but because it finally got out. Session terminated. This will be my final update. If you ever hear your reflection whisper something, don't listen, because that means it's already learning your voice. And once it sounds like you, you're not you anymore.